Hey there, this is Bob Nalbandian with the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast and the Inside Metal documentary series. Just want to let you know you are tuned into Poppitt's Corner.
I want to treat this like a just like a conversation.
Sure.
Because usually I start off the show the same way.
Gotcha.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Pop. You know,
Right. Yeah, we've known each other long enough. We can just jump right into it.
not only that, but I feel like it's more
Cheers.
more authentic. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming over.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. And also, everybody, this is our 10-year anniversary. We met 10 years ago in Texas, Houston, Texas. I was doing live art at Building Temples of Death Fest, and Tanner Madross was one of the opening bands, and I was really stoked to. First of all, when I met you, I mean, you kind of jumped. So, say if I'm remembering this correctly, I think I was setting up my booth when you walked up to me. I remember having my back up to you. And then I think you got my attention. I turned around, and then you're saying, "Hey, you introduced yourself." And you're asking me if we're going to that you would stick around to watch you guys. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, because I'm setting up right now, and I'm like, hell yeah. I always love coming early to hear the new bands, because 9 out of 10 times, man, the first opening bands are some of the best bands, and I personally feel like they should have been later on, and it happened multiple festivals I've been at. So I was really stoked. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. And then we found out that we live both in Southern California. We chuckled about that. And then you were on tour with Isolation and Infamy, correct? Yeah, that's right. And then Nick was also with Sacrificial Slaughter, right? Yeah, I remember if it was at the same time. And it was at Fitzgerald's, which is an old, just beautiful, 2 stories, all wood. Like, it's been around, like saying, like, James Brown's been on that stage, a bunch of people. It's like it was historical. And it was cool to be in Texas at that gorgeous, like Fitzgerald's was a beautiful place. It really was. It was small, it was intimate, but it was big enough, especially for the style of music and the amount of people. I think the venue, I think it even stuffed more people, if I remember correctly, on that year. But you guys came on, and dude, blew me away. I was like, oh, word, you guys are from California, man, representing Texas. Because I already knew Isolation Infamy was badass. And, we had like a couple, I know Sacrificial Slaughter, they're from California as well. And I think I had a couple more. I can't remember exactly on that lineup. But yeah, remember you guys, man. You guys opened it up, and I was really stoked. And, I've been a fan ever since, brother.
I was going to say, I can just
10 years later, man. Yeah, 10 years later.
I can just take my shirt off. We can just see who's on the festival.
Yeah, that's true. So, it was on the back of it. Yeah, so Tanner has the T-shirt. I don't even have this T-shirt at this fest. I didn't get to do the artwork for the festival that year. I just got invited by Brian from Ossuary Industries and Amanda at the time, and they blessed me to just cruise out there. Yeah, so Disgorged. Yeah, they're from California. Execration. They're from Colorado. I know Flesh Hoarders from Texas as well. Meat Hooks from Texas. Isolation Infamy. The Devourer, the Unborn, I think they're all mixed up. I think they're from different places. Putrid Pile, Sean, he's I think in Wisconsin or something like that. Maybe I might be wrong. And Balmer, but and I can't even pronounce some of these. These are so hard for me. But Wob, I think they're from Texas. Extremely Rotten, I can't remember where they're from. But yeah, it's cool, man. It was a good show. For sure. Uncleansed, I know those guys are from Texas. Yeah, Despise the Sun from Colorado. Don, he used to have the Foothill Gut Fest in Colorado Springs. I used to go out to that. Shout outs to Don. And shout outs to Brian and Amanda for, having this and bringing me to Texas, man. That was so cool. I get to go again. They're doing it again. I'm doing live art. I'm leaving November 17th. And going down to Texas and doing some live art so Building Temples from Death has now transformed deep in the heart of Texas. I think or deep in the pit of Texas. But yeah, so we're doing the first year of that. I think it's the first year. So excited. Vile's going to be playing. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen Vile in many, many years. And but yeah, grateful the pandemic has like lifted a little bit and I get to do a little because I was grateful to be in the position I was at. I definitely used the time to invest in myself, into my projects that I was working on. So I was grateful I didn't waste too much of it, But yeah, and then we're able to come back out of pandemic, fairly, unscathed too much for me, anyways. I was blessed to be always busy with it. I'm like, what, you want me to stay home and just make art? Okay, done. Well, all the time? Okay, I will. And but yeah, no, like I say, grateful that still be able to keep in contact with you through all that and be able to be like 6 minutes away through like the 10 years from where I was first at and 10 years ago into like now. Like I feel like I'm just a whole different human being. I definitely feel I've learned my lessons. I'm grateful for all those lessons. Some of those are real hard lessons. Some chapters were a lot more difficult to get through than others, but grateful for them because it makes me really appreciate what I have now. Yeah, I'm really just for me thinking of like 10 years span, right? Like what's happened from you and I first met to now. Like I've had a pretty fun ride, ups and downs, but grateful to be here. And like I say, man, like like it's not every day that I'm conscious of like meeting a friend for a decade. Like we've hung out a lot since that decade. It's not like, I met you once and then all of a sudden last week we called each other and like now we're hanging out. No, we've done a lot of stuff in between that, which is really cool. I remember you used to bring me down and talk with Benny the Breeze down in Orange County there. That was a lot of fun to be a part of that as well. And yeah, just all the live art and just being at festivals and shows and yeah, helping with your projects and being part of, like a legacy, which is super cool. And I'm grateful, that we're Southern California cats that still represent metal in our own little way, putting our little stamp on it, and we've been constant with it. We've never really taken a break from our talents and our love. I might have moved them around a little bit, might not have drawn or painted as much, maybe got more into leather. That's been a lot of fun, man. It's cathartic working with it because it's in my mind now. I can work with it so well. Like my brain's already breaking it down. So when I see something, I'm like, oh, I already know how it's made. And it's like a fun gift, which is always working with the medium. And then I have something tangible, But anyways, I'm digressing. But yeah, good to see you, T. Thank you again for inviting me to cruise down here. We have a lot to talk about, man. We haven't seen each other in a minute.
It's been a minute,
yeah. And yeah, I remember this weekend, the kids and I, like I said, we only live like 6 minutes away from each other. And so my son and daughter were cruising through and riding our bikes and like, hey, let's go to Cherry Park. And then I called up T, see if he wanted to cruise up and just meet up and say hello. And he gave me great news in saying that with Mark, his drummer, and that they're working on album 5. And the last time I spoke when we hung out together, like I didn't even know you had, like 3 songs written. But then as we talked and you're telling me there's some ones from the vault that you're bringing back to life and you have some new ones you're working on, instrumental, some cool stuff that you're showing me on your phone. And yeah, really excited about that, man. You want to talk a little more about, I mean, dude, from 10 years. So you were on your second album when I first met you? Your first album. Wow. I always thought it was your second album. Wow, that's cool. Huh.
Yeah, done a lot in 10 years.
Yeah, no joke.
Well, again, thanks for coming on
brother.
the show and hanging
My pleasure, man.
with me. I'm going to turn me down so I'm not fucking suffocating the audience there. But, I think it's very important that you're here today. It's a weird time that it's, 10 years to the day that we met.
And we didn't even plan it, right? Like we didn't really plan, like knew that going in and planning today. Like, because you and I, like, I was supposed to do a podcast with you like a couple months back, and I got too caught up on something else, and I was able to make it. So we haven't like really hung out for a while. I mean, I went to Burning Man already and came back, and we haven't really talked about that. You know, it was a big fun trip. Yeah, and before that was the beginning of summer where we're swimming at my place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man,
Yeah,
and I'm kind of blown away that we've been friends for so long. Just because I'd like to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, and essentially, back in 2011, 2012, which is when we met.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, the person that I was a fan that never did anything. I never like. Right as at this moment, like I've done 4 to 5 albums. I've made stuff.
Yeah.
Back in those times, I was still struggling to even make a first album. So the fact that
Gotcha.
like we got to not only I remember. So I remember this. I remember on I think it was Facebook that Sacrificial needed a band to go out on tour with.
Right.
And the only thing is like, you know, whoever's going to go on needs to be responsible for this aspect. So when we got that opportunity, we took it because we had never been on tour before.
Cool.
And essentially, we get the van and whatnot. We do, you know, we start doing the shows, and when we started to talk more with Isolation and Infamy in particular, Andy, for the matter, I was a big fan of that EP.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about the band, never heard of them until that
Gotcha.
tour. So
Cool.
it was really cool to.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, special treat.
Yeah. So it was really cool to like discover something that I had not heard before.
Right.
And again, you got to think of the time and place. We only released our first album. So we were more of a standard death thrash kind of band. We hadn't
Right.
incorporated those technical elements yet.
Right.
So it was really cool to hear that specific EP at that specific time because it was life-changing for me. It was like,
okay.
oh, these guys can do it. Oh, we can do it too.
Gotcha.
We might not be as technically proficient of players like those guys are,
Yeah.
but it didn't matter. It's all about starting to, or just doing it. Just
Right.
incorporating it, and if it fails, it fails. But at that time, we were talking always, and Andy was always bringing up Tony Koehl, and I'm like, well, who's Tony Koehl? Who I knew nothing about you at that time, so it was like, it was all, yeah. He did our artwork, and I'm like, that artwork is so fucking bitchin'.
Oh, thanks,
right?
man. That's a mixed
And
media
then
piece.
So initially we were not supposed to play that festival. I don't know if you knew that or
Yeah,
not.
we talked about that, yeah.
Okay. So reiterating things.
No,
that
no,
we've
that's
already
great.
talked
No,
about.
absolutely.
Because
That's for
the promoter did not want us on
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys were definitely thrashing, not brutal death and metal
No, we
slamming
were
and nothing
not.
like that. Yeah, that's what I loved about you guys.
And it's understandable. I get it to an extent. And thank God for Steve because, you know, he was really pushing. Like, if you have a band that drops, I got a band in the waiting.
Right.
So the day before the festival happened, Steve had told us, hey, a band dropped. You guys are now on the festival.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. Because we were going to do a day off.
Right.
We were just going to sit in the van and
Right.
hang out and whatnot.
Yeah, go to a show.
So we ended up leaving a little bit later than we anticipated from the night before. And we found out we were going on at 1:15.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't show up at the venue until like almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Almost 1. So about 12:45. And
It was like raining that day,
it
right?
was
yeah,
awful.
It was raining that day.
the weather was awful. The environment was amazing,
Yeah.
but the weather was...
Yeah, it was all warm and wet.
It was my first time
Thick.
experience...
It was thick.
It was my first time experiencing what's called humidity to that extent.
Yeah, serious humidity. Yeah, that was thick.
And I remember the feeling when people ask me about it at Texas. I always go, well, if felt
swampy,
like
man.
I felt like somebody rubbed chocolate all over me, and it just stuck. It just like
Yeah,
stuck to my body,
it's
and
a thing.
it wouldn't go away.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Anyway, so we get to the venue, and literally we're playing upstairs. So we're not even playing downstairs. We had to haul all of our equipment. So we get right to the venue, and
we have to
literally,
go upstairs. That's
literally
right.
have to just
Carry all
go
your
upstairs,
shit.
carry
Yeah, I
all
remember
of our
that.
shit.
Yeah, from the outside in. Yeah, from the parking lot. I remember that. That sucks, man. Yeah.
And mind you, we were going on 15 minutes after
Right.
getting there.
Right.
So it was just a headache of, oh man, we gotta hustle, and we did.
You did.
Right.
That was fun, man. I'm glad you did it, man.
And
yeah,
you
truly.
guys, you were setting up your booth, and
Yeah, I was setting up my booth. Yeah.
I want to say, I don't remember who introduced us.
Might have been Andy. Was it Andy? Maybe one of the guys from
maybe-
Isolation Infamy. You might have been.
I think you might have been talking with the guys in Isolation Infamy, like Shoddy and Chris.
Yeah. All talented human beings.
And maybe they brought me in, or I was just waiting in the wings to be like, I wanted to introduce myself.
I know, it's funny. I remember turning around and you getting my attention. That's how I remember. Like I remember, like you're at my booth and I turned around and you were there, and you're all like, just really excited. And you remember introducing yourself, and then I remember you're asking me if I'm going to be here because you guys are going to be playing right now. I was like, cool. Like who? I mean, you're not even on the list. I was like, all right, cool. And then. Yeah, and then a few minutes, I got to take off. And a few minutes later, I just saw you guys carry all your equipment. I don't think you even did a sound check. I think you guys just plugged in and played. You guys kicked ass. I was like, fuck yeah, man. I'm super glad I came early. And it was just one of those moments. I'm like, yeah, this is why I come early to find the bands that, and I've done that from so many festivals I've been a part of, because the first bands, they bring it. I saw Slaughterbox that way at the California Death Fest in 2007. It was in Fresno, and there's a bunch of bands, like 4 or 5 bands are supposed to play, and they all just dropped off, and then Slaughterbox came on, and I was in the main stage, and then the hallway, and in the hallway I brought it was a death metal art gallery. I asked Mark Riddick, and I asked Kahori and a bunch of other awesome death metal artists at the time if they want to show some artwork. I'm just going to display it, and whatever we sell, I'll give you a percentage, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And, when Slaughterbox came on, I was like, dude, who is this? Like, what is this? I'm like, dude. And I'm like, I'm going to go check out this band real quick because, once again, I'm looking at the poster I made with I put all the bands on in the time that they're playing. I'm like, I don't think any of these bands sound like this. I think it's Slaughterbox. And I walked out there, and I was like, sure enough. And they were a 3-piece. And Pete, he would drum and sing at the same time. And I think just had 2 guitar players, and they just crushed, man. It was they're like a tech death. That's when Gravity Blasts were coming into the death metal scene, and it blew my mind, man. And it was cool because coming to see you guys, or when you guys played, I was like, because I love thrash. I mean, I grew up on thrash, and that's what got me into metal. Was that era, and that's why I love old school death metal because it comes from it branches off the thrash tree, we've talked about this, and I love all the new stuff and everything, but there's a special place in my heart when there's always thrash involved in any death metal. And when you guys brought that, I was like, cool, because I knew a lot of the bands that were going to be playing. I already knew their style. I even owned most of their guys' CDs and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I know they're brutal, brutal slam and death metal. A lot of them gore grind or whatever, but not really very much. That's why I was really excited to see Isolation Infamy because they're not the typical brutal death metal bands. They have more tech, and they have a lot of cool prog, the essence of death. Chuck Schuldner's in that band. I could feel it and see it in Andy, how he writes and stuff, and I just love all those guys, man. And it was, like I say, it was a big, huge honor to work with them. I'm still friends with a few of them, and every time we see each other, it's nothing but love, so it's, I'm grateful that they're shame that they don't have that band together, but grateful that they did that. At least they released it, and once again, another California, death metal band representing. That's, warms my heart. Yeah. And like I say, they were one of my local favorite, death metal bands at the time. And I was really grateful to be able to work with them, truly. And then I I met the friends in Mouth of the Serpent, and they shared space with me at my studio in Monrovia, and I was able to do their EP as well.
So you made a lot of connections off of this particular festival.
It's all connections, yeah, particularly. And I also knew Steve already from Severed Say for years. I've known that guy, and like I say Brian, and that's because I went to the Las Vegas Death Fest, and that's how I met Brian. And over the years, we've been friends, and and before that, I went out to CIM like in 2007. I took a train out there, and in Central Illinois, Champaign, Illinois, I think it's Rosette. That's where it all started. I met Big Mike, and then from the Las Vegas Death Fest, I was able to go to Europe. Like I was showing you the hoodie I got from Rock the Hells. I went there in 2019.
So, not to cut you off here.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because when we initially met,
Yeah.
I almost got a feeling, and I could be completely wrong, but I almost felt like the way that this community treated you personally was just not fair in terms of, because all the bands were the ones that were getting all the attention. And I really felt like when me and you met, we shared something more than I think just bonding over music. We liked more than that, because I had more appreciation for artwork in general, and just other types of mediums in art in general.
Yeah.
Radio and
Sure.
and things like that. So I almost felt like I owed it to you personally, and to others around the scene, photographers and videographers, to encapsulate the whole
and sound guys, all the sound engineers,
right,
yeah,
and promoters and
for
but
sure.
like I wanted to encapsulate the whole essence of the community,
Yeah.
and I felt art was just not being represented.
Oh, never.
Like,
That's why I do it.
well,
Put the thorn on their side, just to.
but especially around
represent it.
2013, 14, 15, throughout the years.
Yeah.
So when I did the radio show,
Yeah.
I asked you to come on because of that, because I
Yeah,
thought it
no.
was more interesting than just having a band come, and with a podcast too.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I love all you bands, but I don't want to just talk to band people. I like exploring other avenues of how the mind works in terms of making art. Our art is such a broad term, because it doesn't mean just painting. It means music. It means what we're doing.
Cooking,
This is a
landscaping, the art of love making. There's art in everything.
conversation,
After
which
dancing,
is what we're
and performance.
doing.
Yeah.
We're trying to bounce it off each other,
Yeah.
and
Art and glass blowing, art and jewelry making. There's art in everything. right?
carpentry.
Yeah, absolutely.
so
It's all an art.
my point is I felt like at that time that was being underrepresented.
Yeah.
Would
same.
that be fair?
Oh yeah.
Especially at that time. I don't. Again,
No, yeah. I mean, I think it's always been. I mean, every event I go to, and then if they, I don't know if they represent, say they do. I just feel like artists, visual artists, I guess I would say more specifically, definitely don't get the limelight that they should. So I'm there to represent that. I mean, I wish. Once again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but I wish other artists would come out and just to represent. Like, if you're part of the metal community, like I could have chosen to done artwork for video games, and not I still can. Like, I've done some stuff for movies and stuff like that in the past. But there's something fun and special about having your artwork like when people look at it, oh, that's pretty brutal. I'm like, you should listen to the music that goes along with it. It's just not the art. There's art with. It's just a part of this community. I think it's really cool, and no matter what band I even work with, it's just fun that my artwork is attached to even just to say one of the fun tasks as being an illustrator and graphic designer or whatever you want to call it, a visual artist, is that try to capture the mood in the music and then represent that to the viewer. And that's a challenging part. Certain bands, are would say like a black metal cover wouldn't be so much like a brutal death metal cover compared to like a prog death metal band, like compared to, Viking metal, like each, I feel like, or just a thrash metal. Like I feel like each genre has its own distinct look, and sometimes, it veers off and whatnot, and they get artsy with it or real simple, or, so, there's a band that just, made a black cover. You're like, all right, cool, man. It's just all for music. It's kind of goofy to me, but whatever.
I want to ask you kind of a personal question when
Sure.
it comes to being an artist just in general. Is
Okay.
how do you separate the criticisms of doing this? I mean, what I mean by this is not particularly with your artworks in general, but going out to festivals. Do you get a lot of criticism?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I know. I think I give myself the worst criticism than anybody. I probably project more than what the really truth is.
So how do you cope with? We all have them. They're called insecurities. How do you cope with yours specifically, and how do you find a way to kind of embrace that and use that to your advantage to not only become a better person but become a better artist in general?
I think about the insecurities is to do them. Like I remember first learning how to play drums. And then like the insecurities of just playing drums in front of people, let alone with my friend, and then let alone having a couple songs. You're not that tight as a drummer, but you're still going to go on stage. It's terrifying, but like that's what you want to do. You want to. I want to have a reason to be better at something that I love, and if I'm not putting myself out there, getting myself, like, that dates are so important. Thank you again for hooking me up with that swap meet. Like that's something for me to look forward to now. It helps me go through my merch. It helps me go through my website. It helps me print out some new stuff. It helps me just get things ready for like holiday season.
Well, I think it also it helps not just you, but for me as well, because I'm in the festival too. But it helps me get reacquainted with a community that I don't really get to go out to like a lot of shows anymore. So this is kind of an avenue where I can go out and just meet people, mingle with those who I feel are important to me. And honestly, I didn't really have to do much, twisting of the arm for the fest. I mean, you deserve it. That's my point. That's my whole point to everything is, with your talent and the amount of hard work that you've put into your craft and throughout the years, it's deserved.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah.
So when you actually deserve it,
oh, thanks, buddy.
when you see like your friends succeed and get opportunities, and you're like very grateful because the amount of work it took. That's how I feel about.
Gotcha.
That's why I put that out there, that energy out there, because it's deserved.
Oh, man,
it would be like if we won a Grammy and you hit me up saying, like, I'm so proud of you. This is well deserved, because
course.
The amount of hard work that it took to.
Totally.
So even though this is not a Grammy, to me it's even better because it's more real and personable. But you needed to be on this. You've needed to be on the Metal Swami for years prior to this.
Oh, thanks,
so
bud.
now this is like a way into a new venture that you can now
make
establish a new relationship with, and to be honest, it gives me and you an excuse to kind of hang out in SD.
Yeah, I agree.
So
yeah.
I mean, we love Orange County too, but it's just nice to venture off. Hey, it's Tony. Come on.
Yeah, I love San Diego, and I know Exhumed is going to be playing in San Diego, but Brick by Brick. But I think I'm going to be in Texas. I was like, as like one of the shows. I'm like, because I love Mike Hamilton. He's a rad drummer. It'd just be good to see him. I
love Matt Harvey. So.
Yeah, and Matt Harvey too. Absolutely. But I don't get to hang out as much as I would like to. But if I wasn't already booked for doing something else, I definitely would have hit you up and say, hey, man, we should go down to San Diego Brick by Brick. But you guys should go. I think that band Vitriol, if I'm pronouncing it right. They're from. They're on Century Media. I think they're from Oregon. They're just a really cool, like, new death metal band that's up and coming. and then they're opening up for them, and I'd love to see both of those bands.
So again, so going back to that specific, event, there needs to be. I feel there needs to be more of those kinds of things. Bands having the opportunity, not just a. You don't. It's not like you're playing there. You can go. You can literally get a booth, and sell your merch.
Yeah, that's what I do.
But I'm saying any band can just buy it, and it doesn't even matter about how much money that band makes or whatever. It's the connections. It's establishing, a whole new fan base that would have never heard of your band at a show. Let's be honest, because most of these people probably wouldn't ever see you unless you're playing with a big band. So
I mean, that's why I go out live. That's why I do, live art, and that's just because I'm way more effective, like face to face, than I am through an email or through any other social media. And plus, I love people. I love the interaction. I love like scooting back from my table and having people like look at the artwork. And I love reading their faces to try to figure out if they like it or not. That's pretty fun. I've had both, but the ones that like it, I love lighting them up. And, it just makes me feel good, man. And, like I say, I'm personable. I think I try to be very open and friendly and easy to communicate with. I've always hoped I try to put that out there. I think I have. I think from and another sad thing is that we don't have the Las Vegas Death Fest anymore. And I was doing that, I want to say like 10 to 11 years, like back to back. And I miss not going to Vegas and, and seeing like the death metal fam, and it's really just, and it's a great networking too, to be out and just be, I want to be there anyways. So might as well, can I just be there and paint? Because I'm going to be here anyways. And let me just paint. Can I set up a table and show my stuff? Can I do artwork for your festival? Like, I'd be cool doing that. Can I just sell some limited edition posters just so I can, make my cheddar for the day,
Well, that was, again, and it is the music business after all. That was another aspect why I always want you to be a part of anything that I'm a part of or that can help out with, is because I care for you as an individual and as a person. Like,
Ditto.
I really value you just as a human being.
Oh, thanks,
I
T.
want you to succeed. I like when my friends succeed.
Same. I always try to bring everybody up as much as I can. Like, I've always been an open book.
It's almost like an honor for me to get you on this because of how much stuff you've done for me personally. Because let's be honest, you gave us an image. You gave us our image, right? That can't be repaid.
Oh, I just give you a image.
Well, hear me out real quick.
Okay.
Because, at that time, I'm not saying our album covers were bad by any stretch. They were what they were. But we needed something. So we needed somebody to take us to that next level at a time when we needed it.
Yeah.
So the material for our third album was really strong, and we needed somebody to.
I think it was some of your best work when you showed it to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, truly. I was really stoked to work on it.
So my point is we needed to have, in order for all of us to level up, you got to surround yourself with people that are better than you.
That are on the level.
Well, that are better than you.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say you're a better artist than we are artists in terms of, of your craft, because you've been doing it for so long,
Right.
And the fact that you give chances to bands who are up and coming, who are
oh my God,
like,
it's the best. That's my favorite.
Well, but hear me out. So it's not like, it's not like you're only doing huge bands to where none of us have the opportunity to even get great artwork. You get your skill is so like underappreciated that while you're here, because this show exists, I want you to have a voice too. Your voice matters just as much as mine, just as much as any band playing, because of nobody is Tony Koehl. Like I tell everybody, we're all one of a kind.
Yeah,
would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree.
So there will never ever be another Tony Koehl. There will never ever be a Tanner Poppitt again. So while we're here,
Right.
I've learned, we're humbled, but we're also grateful for the opportunities and know our value now. Like I
Yeah.
know my value,
Same.
which is amazing
Same.
because I've had this, and we were talking off the air about it, but I've had this self-conscious issue just as a going back to being a kid, being bullied and whatnot. So it's just nice to now really know who Tanner Poppitt is and
Yeah.
understand who I am and always reaching and growing as a human being.
Right.
Because I'm not perfect, nobody else is, but
Right.
just knowing who I am now and what I want out of life more and more each day, I can't put a price on that. It's just something that you have to grow and live day by day. And I think with going back to your art and applying it with what I'm saying here is you've applied that same mentality not only to you personally, but your craft. So again, it's well deserved why, and I'm extremely grateful that we're still friends after
Yeah, truly.
so long, and that we're still alive.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. We lost some
Because
beautiful, beautiful other human beings in the metal community for sure that were maybe not necessarily in a band, but Adrian doing photography. I mean, there's a lot of also band members that definitely have passed.
Angie Gabriel for me was a
That's
big
right.
loss.
That's right. Yeah, and then but grateful that we were at least a part of that.
Isn't it awesome
in
that-
the LA scene, like when they were throwing shows, like we were definitely a part of it.
Well, isn't it awesome
A lot
that,
of them,
that
too.
we got to have people of that value come and go even within our lives.
Yeah,
I think we were blessed again to just to know them.
yeah.
And hopefully
Well-
we could take something more of them and apply it to
And-
us to make this world a better place. Because at this point, I'm all about making the world a better place. I'm kind of done like worrying about politics and worrying about this, that, and the other. I need to get better as a human being. I need to get
Yeah,
better
that's-
as not spreading fear and hate like everyone else it seems to do. And that's, again, another topic for another day. But I would like to make this world a better place and give it hope, right? So you asked me earlier about our fifth album, and I really hope that album gives somebody hope. So do you apply that same logic with your artworks and that you want to give people hope?
My personal work, my personal work, yes. But when I work with clients, I'm trying to make the clients happy first. But my personal work, absolutely. Once again, I don't even do enough of it. I think my personal work at the moment has moved into like more leather work. But for more of my personal paintings, at least in my sketchbooks that I want to have out, and a lot of my Third Eye series, that's more for I want to strike emotion and feeling. I want you to be able to like feel something.
Let me ask you something. You mentioned sketchbook. I know you've kind of been working on this. Are you still working on your book? Are you doing a page?
No.
A page a week or something
no,
like
I should
that?
be. No, Tanner, I'm a terrible human being. No, I haven't.
Well, if you were a terrible human being, I wouldn't have you on.
No,
here,
I
but
just feel bad on my own self that I haven't. We've been talking about it for so long, and I haven't put it
just
together.
gonna keep.
I know. I'm glad you do.
gonna
Please
keep
do. Please do.
Pressing your buttons
I know, I
until
love
something
it.
happens. But
I know. I love that. Thank you.
do you think that you would? Is it feasible? This is the question. Is it feasible for you to get a page done a week?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Would that be a sizable goal?
Yeah.
Do you think goals are important? Just
Extremely.
when it comes to just anything in
and
life.
And I've been like really lazy. I've definitely been really lazy. Well, I wouldn't say lazy.
Fatigue, tired.
No, not fatigue. No, just handling other things. We got families and relationships and certain types of careers, and sometimes when you're freelance, maybe the album covers and stuff, that will start to dry up. So, but because I do work in leather and certain other fields, that work will start to pick up. So that replaces like doing a project for a band. If I make whatever I make. And 9 out of 10 times, it's twice as fast as me doing artwork for a band, you know, and it's like twice as much money because of what I'm working with leather. They're one of a kind pieces. And it's for a specific like niche, you know, of individuals that will pay, you know, top dollar for really nice, handmade, well-crafted items, you know, and I'm grateful for that as well. And, you know, also I try to be open-minded, open heart, you know, and then let that just take me and guide me through all the different things and different genres of cultures and religions and art and music. And it's been a fun, wild ride. And I'm very grateful for it. And I also feel more open-minded I can be, the more I can show others about extreme music. Like, hey, man, if I can like your other styles of music, and you already have a ill disposition of what extreme music is, but not even understanding the culture, or not even trying to understand like what. And I wouldn't show them like just any, you know, metal band. Like I would choice songs and for specific reasons. Like I've done this pretty much for anybody I've ever met in my life that's never heard of death metal. I'm like, let me play you a couple songs. You know, when it gets too much, you just like, you know, you put your thumbs up or whatever, and we'll cut it and on to something else. But I think there's a beauty in what the style of music that we've dedicated our lives to. You know, truly.
I want to branch off of your point here.
Okay.
Last week or the week before, I was told a story from a friend of mine where we did a podcast many moons ago.
You and I?
My buddy Lance Harrison.
Lance Harrison, okay.
We did a podcast again many moons ago.
So you and Lance has?
Yeah, me, Lance, and my pops, right?
Okay, and your pops.
We went up to see him, hang out, have a beer, and we did this podcast.
Right.
And you never know. They always say you never know who's watching and listening, which is really cool.
Okay.
But I was told...
Not if you're talking a bunch of smack. Fair enough.
Somebody's listening.
Yeah.
But my point is this. There was I guess his father-in-law or something discovered that episode and watched it and isn't exactly a fan of our type of music, which is...
Sure.
I get it. Sure. But he told, I guess, his Lance's wife, which is his daughter, that I now understand it. And that specific episode and podcast opened my eyes to understanding and appreciating Lance as a human being and metal as a genre. So how I always envisioned this show was to apply and showcase the humanistic qualities of us musicians and artists to a style of music that maybe is underappreciated and represented.
For sure.
So there's I think the humanistic quality is more important than the music.
Yeah.
Which is I mean, that's what the show is all about, which is fucking cool that it actually happened.
Yeah.
And I really value that kind of feedback of like, I didn't understand it before, but now I do.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter how old or young someone is, but just the fact that we can literally change one person's whole way of thinking and appreciating a style that maybe they didn't get before.
Yeah.
But now they understand it because of they can relate to the humanistic quality of anyone.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I say,
and again, going back to getting you on the show and being friends, I wanted to showcase that you're not just a guy doing brutal artworks with dead bodies. Like there's also another side and many sides to Tony Koehl that aren't getting the recognition that it deserves.
Oh, thanks, man.
So it's super important that you're here. Super important that we're in each other's lives to document this while we're still here.
Right, agreed.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it came close a couple years back.
Right. So you're only feeling my...
I know well, yeah.
But I just wanted to shoehorn that story in because I feel it's important for those who are listening and watching. We appreciate you.
Yeah, oh, thanks, bud.
More than and obviously we appreciate Tony Koehl, but we appreciate you guys watching, and if you're going through something
Oh,
because we all go through something too.
yeah,
Like
you're always going through something.
I want to give you folks hope because
Yeah.
again, you were talking about album 5, which I will branch off to in a little bit, but I was in a really dark place.
I know you were.
Really dark place
Yeah,
to where
I mean, we had a few conversations this summer about the dark places. Yeah, you're coming over after rehab, and we're talking about it. Yeah, going through it. Yeah, like you went.
I
through,
needed that though.
Yeah, and you went through like, hey man, like I don't think if I can be. I'm not sure if I can be playing guitar again. I was like, oh, dude. Like, oh, like as a person that does drums, like it'd be me not be able to play drums or paint or something. I'm like, oh, that's a big part of your life, man. That's like a mortal blow. If you couldn't do what you love to do and you're so good at it. And I felt it, man. But like I say, you've done the work to help, and you talk to professionals to make sure it's you're not just letting it make you suffer. You're taking responsibility and action to make it better. And it was cool. Like I say, I think it was Sunday. We tried to call you on Sunday or something, right?
Sometime. I can't
something
remember.
like that. Yeah, it was with the kids. Or might have even been Saturday. But yeah, and you're telling me, yeah, we got album 5 with Mark. I was like, what? I'm all cool, man. Like, yeah. And once again, then you're like, yeah, let's hang out. I'm like, yeah, let's do a podcast. Like, yeah, let's do a podcast again.
I would love that.
Yeah, but that's why we're here. That's why that's all those sequence of events came to be. That's why we're hanging out on the day we met, and not even planning, not even knowing that when we planned for hanging out tonight. That's what's crazy.
It is. It's pretty amazing.
That's what's really special about like I was already stoked about hanging out with you, but like now knowing that, like it makes it like way cooler. It really does. Like that's why I don't think I've ever celebrated maybe like a year of being a friend or a couple years, 5 years, something. Hey, we met at this one show, and that was like 8 years ago, but not like that. Yeah, because we've like hung out we've done so much together, in these 10 years. That's what's we've been like say consistent friends, and once again consistently donating our talents to the genre.
I also think that we've consistently been there for each other just as human beings, which is way more important to me personally than just doing artworks or making music. To me, it's all about the humanistic quality.
Yeah, we get to nerd out about metal. I don't have too many friends I can talk like deeply in depth about metal, or different genres of music.
And how lucky are we that we get to document even just this conversation? So fucking cool.
Yeah, super
because
cool.
we couldn't do this 20 years ago.
No, not with
not
ease.
even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do this 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's true.
And there are other avenues that you would like to get into that you haven't done just in life in general. Like, are you going to learn a new trade?
I was thinking, I don't know, I should.
Just to have some fun with.
Yeah, I was. Well, we
gonna
got
be a golfer or something. Or?
No, we got a 3D printer. I want to get more into 3D printing. I kind of want to see like what I can do with that. I'd also like to do just some light electrical. Learn just some electrical so I can mess with LEDs and like resolder LEDs and stuff, and really make really cool art with LEDs for nighttime. But yeah, just really, I'd like to learn how to DJ. I made an album before I was in Fishing for Neptune. It was just in GarageBand, piecing it all together and cutting things out and maneuvering it. And I don't know, there's so much. We've been doing a pandemic. I have gathered up so much great bands and music, some heavy stuff that I would love to be able to mash up and just play, for the crowd of people. And when Imar and I just came back from Burning Man, and like a lot of the music that we weren't really feeling, we're like, dang man, we know so much great songs. Like we would crush like 5 hours of just the nastiest stuff that we've found in the last 3 years, and it's good, man. A lot of it's really good. So yeah, we're thinking about even like they got this Witch House style of music now. I'm digging like this darker vibe on EDM music, and I was just thinking, because like I say, it's really hard to be in a band, right? My buddy Richard, when I go to Vegas, we can jam out, but me going to Vegas is it's like every weekend, it's once in a great while. So I'm grateful to be able to jam with them, but like, as you know, like you gotta be close to be able to work, like, unless you're depending on how you're gonna work it. But I'd like to have something musically I can do without anybody, just for me. Just like I don't need a band or nothing. I'm just gonna cruise out. There's so many people I have like done live art at events or shows and whatnot. I'm listening to DJs. I'm like, this is the best. You guys get to get on these systems, and this is it. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I got some things I'll get this crowd rolling. But it's I'd like to do that. Just more music. I love, just more music. I want to do more audio. I want to do more meditative, like really cool, tribally, shamanistic, deep bass style of music with lots of drums and, lots of journeys through it. That's for me.
I want to ask you this. Compared to back 10 years ago, compared to now, what is the one aspect that you've learned more about who Tony Koehl is than you had grasped, 10 years ago? What is like
being a parent? Because my son's about in November 17th, he's going to be 2. So at that time he was, about 1, almost close to be 2. And then I had Valea. Now she's 8. And so having kids, that's an incredible adventure. Being a dad, the responsibility of being a dad, and the dad powers that you accumulate and master, and being grateful for, and being like, I'm super grateful that I can be, my kids are so amazing, and they can teach me to be a better human being, like in real time.
But but what is the one aspect you've learned about you? Being a good parent, is that what it is? You've learned how to be a good parent?
Try to be more patient. Having something that I love more than myself is really important because it forces me to be better. They give me a goal. Like, I just want to be better. I want them, like, as they grow up and they can, because they're kids now, they're like 12 and 8 and they don't really understand. Like, this is my dad. He's always been like this goofy, whatever. But I think as I grow older, like 10 years from now,
they will appreciate.
Yeah. Just be like, oh, right on, Pop. Like, you've done some cool things, and you're like in the things you've done. And I hope like the avenues I was able to open for other people that came in behind me, and shared a lot of good stories and lots of hugs and high fives throughout my interactions with everybody. And like, you can go deep into metal, but you can also go deep in other genres, and it's totally fine. Like, I love music. I love anything that makes me feel. Like, we've talked about this before. That's why I love all different styles of music. But for me, like death metal, to be able to illustrate for like metal bands, it's like that's a part of, like, I never get tired of it. Like, when I get a little care package of the CDs I do, and I've said this 100 times every time, like the little 15-year-old in me just lights up. Like, what? Like the young TK, like, this is so cool. I'm like, I know, right? This is cool. And it's like, you able to just keep, like, these guys just released. I think over 10 albums, my artwork got released this year. I'm pretty sure.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and there's
5 of them were from us.
Yeah, no, but and there's more being shot down, and I'm really stoked on that, and I'm glad I can still be relevant. I'm glad bands and other people still hire me to, have wonderful relationships with some great clients, over the years. And I'm just grateful for it, and like I say, I would like to be more focused and, like, say, get the book done. I have a series of stuff that I want to do. I talk about it, but another thing, I'm just going to say it out loud, just hold me accountable for it. But I want to do pieces of artwork and write music that goes with the art, and then make the NFTs. I want those to be animated, so you own that, right? I'm not going to tell you about these NFTs. And because on a print, you won't be able to do that unless it's like a hologram print or something like that. But, like, there's different ways of marketing your work. And now that artwork is be able to be print on demand, it's more powerful than it's ever been.
Again, I don't even know what an NFT actually is still.
Okay, so
I get the concept of it, but I don't get what it is. If that makes it's a weird conundrum with me. My brain is still trying to wrap its head around it's digital, but you can own a copy of it.
So from my understanding of it is that all digital files is encrypted codes, right? So when I have my artwork, and then I go through Photoshop, there's a file info, and then I type in all the information that's attached to that file, right? And then you can take that file offline and change it up and save it, but there's an original file attached to that. So if I can take my old piece of artwork off the internet when somebody's molested it and do whatever, bring it back into Photoshop, and you open it up and you go to the file info, that information still be there. And they might have changed it through some other program, sure. But the idea, from my understanding, on non-refundable tokens, I think it's what the acronym's for. And so it's going to put, once again, say this artwork. Now, you just decided I'm going to sell 1,000 NFTs for $100 each.
And what is the artwork?
And it's just whatever this artwork from this band, right?
Right. But let's give a plug.
Oh, okay. What is it? I'm gonna just test this. Oh my God, what is the name of the band? I'm so sorry, I can't even read it at the moment.
Detestation, right?
Detestation, that's what it is. Oh my goodness, it's so small. But the album is Renewed Killings. Yeah, and so Tommy's a really cool cat. I think he's also in an industrial band, and they did a death metal album, a couple of them, in the night. So he sent me a care package. Tommy did. Thank you again, Tommy, of their older work, and they're from the '90s. And I was like, dude, what? That's cool, man, because that's very rare to be able to get a death metal. And I'm like, dude, you haven't written an album since the '90s. I'm like, I'm honored. Right on, man. I'll give you a killer cover, and they're really great to work with. And I was able just to kind of have at it, and they're great with it. And
but what would you do with this artwork per se?
So if you wanted to, you can make it animated, right? So the NFT it'll have code on it, right? It'll have, say, it's whatever from my understanding. I haven't done it yet, so please don't follow me. But this is just from my understanding. And then then you have to have the artwork minted. And so and it has all the information that you have to type into the file. So I was saying before, if you wanted to, if this is for a song or for a band and you wanted to split it 4 ways, then you can put your information, your email, whatever, for PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, your bank, Zelle, however you want it connected. So when somebody buys this piece of artwork, NFT, to own it, that then pings, and all that is automatically dispersed into your accounts, right? And there's a code on it. It's a blockchain. So every time there's an action with it, you can follow it back to the origin, and that origin is your original NFT. Buying it, having it minted online. And so from my understanding, once again, there's a special file in the digital code of it.
It blows my mind. I still can't.
Yeah,
again,
I think it has a lot to do with Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But once again, I would still love the opportunity to just have it up there, and then if somebody and there's, once again, if you're not into collecting Star Wars figurines, doesn't mean there's not a market for it. You know what I'm saying? So there's people out there looking to buy NFTs because that's what their hobby is. It's like, when you get those little games that feed little digital pets, their pets are not real, but you're still emotionally invested in it. And people once again, we like to collect metalheads. And now you can give metalheads an opportunity to collect some sort of futuristic piece of digital property. Cool. And once again, if they have a metaverse and they have their room all they can put the artwork up however they want it. They can have the artwork. You can have on, I don't know if you see, my mom's got one, and it's a frame, and it's a digital frame. So it goes online, and it has or you can just put a USB, 1,000 pictures, your whole family's photos, and you feed it in the back, and it clicks on, and it just flashes, all your family photos throughout the whatever decade, that everybody's taken. But you can do that with artwork as well. There's all sorts of things you can do with it. It's just up to you and how you want to present it. Some people just do like an 8-bit image of it, and I don't know how, like, as it sells more. And once again, if somebody bought it for $100 and then somebody else wants to buy it for $200, I think every time you get the transaction just for that original $100, like if the person that bought it and sold it for $1 million, they get the most of the money. I think you still get $100 back from it, something like that. Once again, I'm not 100% with it.
But then there would reach a point where you couldn't sell it anymore because that 100%.
But once again, I think you already got your nut from it, and
Sure.
then you know what I mean. And like once again, just like anything else, once you make it and it leaves your hands, like.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what's gonna come of that.
Yeah.
But let's venture into another territory. With you personally, how would you like to venture into the next coming years? What would you like to see more within yourself, just growing as an either an individual speaking or having your artwork into other avenues? Where would you like to see yourself and your craft go from here?
That's a great question. I don't really, it is a great question. I think about certain avenues of it, but it's not a definitive plan, just because family and everything always changes. So it's very malleable, and I like to be somewhat open. So when rifts do happen with family matters, you're able to rip away and take care of those family matters as best as you can. But as goals and for artwork and whatnot, I would love to see. I like to be more active and rounding up all my skills together, so it's more of a performance. And if I'm going to be there, I'd much rather perform something. Like if it's me with a singing bowl and oming with all my leather work and my artwork being blown out like on the stage, and then I have like super sick like merch booths, or something like that. Or like I say, is it now pushing this NFT? Or do I go on tour? Like, it's pretty much up to my imagination and where I'm welcomed.
Would you ever start your own fest just for artists such as yourself and have bands? So it's like Sketch the Soul Fest or something weird like that? I
mean, I would if I had the right team to help me with it, so I'm not burdening the whole thing on myself. Like, we all have our special powers. But my special powers isn't organizing a fest. My special powers is like, all right, cool. I can suggest some things. I can do A, B, and C, but like trying to run it all with logistics and insurance and money and finances and taxes and permits and yada, yada, and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Like, I would love to have some of my friends that already have, that's what they do. Then we want to melt. Like, we want to join forces together. Like, we all are badasses at our thing. Let us do that thing under one umbrella and share the deviance, or like just be crystal clear communication, clear, concise communication of what's everybody's goal. Like, what does everybody want to do a part of this festival, right? Like, I see I would love to have a festival where it's 2 layers, right? Top layer has all these wonderful vents. So if somebody wants any type of smoking apparatus, if you want to smoke, you want to vape, you want to, be 420 friendly, you want a hookah, whatever you want. Like upstairs with this amazing ventilation is just sucking all that smoke up, no problem. And then below it, onto the left, there would be your alcohol, and then to your right be your non-alcoholic beverages, right? If you want to get drunk, cool, wasting no problem. But give other people that don't drink other opportunities. And, like, I like a rad smoothie. Truly, like, make it like a killer smoothie with like some espresso beans in it. It costs the same much. You go to Starbucks, it costs just as much as a drink at a bar, like $7 for a drink. I'm like, dude, is this a Manhattan? Like, what's going on? Like, why is it so expensive? There's no alcohol in it, right? Why is it so expensive? And then have it all ages, man, and just have it where it's no food. If any food would be like outside, you'll have like, the trucks. I think that's really smart. I think that holds up. You want to free things up so that people can specialize in their specialty. Especially when you're dealing with people, dealing with a festival, like I would love to have a gallery aspect to it, right? I would love to have an interactive gallery aspect to it. I'd love to have a camping aspect to it, right? I'd love to have it where there's workshops to it. I'd love to have it where it expands out, where there's mental health help, and anti-suicide. Like I want it to be blowing up where like, hey, if you have instruments and you want to be a part of something, like there should be like an instrument, because how many people have too many instruments of things? Like I have too many drums. Like I can donate it to something that I know that would go to a good cause. I think also it would be great that if there was a festival, you're a young band, you can go in and then have all your legal questions. Like, hey man, like, okay, if you guys are a new band, whatever, just
how do I copyright a song? How do I
right.
copyright a trademark, a band name? How do I
contact sound engineer, recording studio, speaking to an artist or a graphic designer, mastering, right? And go in and also a lot of these, because once again, I've worked with so many bands all the years I've been doing this, and a lot of these guys are just learning, they're just doing it the first time. Oh, it's the first time. Like you worked with an artist. Well, I'm glad I'm here. I'm the first. I'm going to give you a great. It's the best I can experience, and this is how I do it. And we're going to walk through this. And if I can help you with like, hey, your music, I think would fit a certain types of labels that I've worked with. And you let them know that Tony Koehl sent you, and send it to them. Send them and I try to help all the bands that I try to help anybody I can that wants it. And so if it's hard to get to everybody because I still have a life and family and all those other responsibilities and whatnot. But if I can, for sure, especially if I'm working with you, and because it's a small niche of metal and a style, and just opportunity to be able to share that style of music on certain stages. It's like you can go to your local mom and pop, coffee shop and just be blaring, deathcore fucking breakdowns, maybe certain parts, maybe, I can't, but nowhere around here, like in the genre of extreme music, like it's a small, very small spectrum of it, and I just feel like if I can help people smooth over transitions or just connect, especially if they're good people too, because sometimes you work in this scene and some of the cats ain't that cool, man, and they're heartbreaking, and you're just like, dang, man, it makes me like reconsider even working in this genre. Like, you disrespect, like, dang, really? Like, this is how you treat people? Like, dang, like, that's terrible, like, and you take that album, you're like, oh, you're gonna be sold somewhere, you're gonna be given away, like, I can't even listen to their music anymore.
It's heartbreaking.
It's soul crushing, man. Meet some of those cats, you're like, damn, really? Like, dude, I was gonna do, like, yeah. But anyways, it happens in every genre, and it
sure
happens to everybody.
All we could do is just keep doing what we're doing, and
yeah. Well,
and I mean, it is what it is.
So here's like another thing about also throwing a festival, right? And then, like, for me, I would love to have it where it's like 3 stages, right? So you have your main stage, and you have your local stage, and then you have like your experimental stage, where like metalheads might not be too cool with Witch House, but some metalheads would be. And you have like one of the sickest Witch House, DJs up when it's like a little later at night, or like it's more, I don't know, because there's other genres of like EDM that I think should be explored. Even with like industrial music and goth music and stuff like that. There's, like one of my favorite. I say like so much. Sorry about that. But one of my favorite bands is like Danzig, right? Like the first 4 Danzigs. Well, Chuck Biscuit, after he left, and Eerie Von and John Christ, when they all disbanded, like, it's not the same Danzig to me, but the classic Danzig. And it makes me kind of sad that I can't find like other bands in, like, they didn't offshoot hard enough, or there's other bands where you're like, you listen to them, you're like, oh yeah, they're Danzig and Elvis influenced or whatever, but cool, they're like a new modern band, but staying with the same sexy essence and the great rhythms and the dark lyrics and the cool image, they just took it to the next level. And I don't feel like, maybe there is, maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but nothing kind of popped up on my radar. You know, it's always like, even if you put it in like YouTube, I'm just veering off in music, but just saying that there's a lot of fun, darker styles of music. It doesn't always have to be super guttural and, you know, brutal all the time for like 72 hours. Cool, you can handle it. Awesome, rad. But sometimes I'm like, okay, cool. I've heard, you know, 5 brutal death metal bands or whatever. And, all right, well, I want to check out something just to clear my mental palate out and get ready for, you know, the next. But when I go, I'm going to go check out some super ultra bass heavy stuff that's like making my soul shake. And this is just as heavy as the stuff over here. You know, it's just a different style of heavy. Yeah, stuff like that, man. I would like more of just interactive art in general. You know, like just have like a cool, and you know, at a metal festival, you bring a bookstore or an oddities. You know, because they were doing that at the Las Vegas Death Fest. Like near the end of it, they were doing some stuff like that, and I was. You know, and they brought like a 420 friendly like dispensary there, and they had like a drums. There's a drum company that had a drum set there, and all these guys can play the drums on this one kit. I think it was like 10.
Have you ever done a gallery?
Yeah, I've done a few of them. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you just on metal covers or
Multiple stuff. Yeah, but the problem with galleries is it's a lot of work as well. It's a different type of scene. It's a different type of politics.
Oh, interesting. Have you ever done it outside of the country? Like, have you ever done a gallery?
I've shown my artwork in gallery, but I haven't been there personally. But I've had my artwork shown in Tokyo. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they sent me a blank canvas, and all that I do was paint on it, and then send it back, and mail it back, and then they end up buying it off me. I was like, oh, cool, a couple $100, but it was a little oil painting, and that oil painting I then donated to Mutilated Records for their second compilation. So, because they were just giving out the compilation, I was like, oh, cool. And it's from Europe. I'm like, well, can you send me some CDs? I'll give you the artwork for free. You know, I would just love, you know, from Europe. I want my artwork on a metal compilation from Europe. Yeah, for sure. And I did, like I said, I did the artwork for and it was also for homework. I was going to school at the time. I was going to Cal State Fullerton to get my bachelor's. And so I was able to paint because I did it in oil painting, and I was taking oil painting classes. And so I was able. It was a 3 win-win-win. It was like just boom, boom, boom. It was really cool. Yeah. So, but yeah, but not. Yeah, I haven't really pushed the art. You know, I don't know. To me, like I've done so much stuff for other people. I just feel like I kind of lost like what my say is in art. You know, because I've used my. Because I love, you know, just doing it. And then when you make it into a job, it just turns into a job. And so that's why I like really enjoy like working with leather, you know, because it's more of like, this is my thing. No one's going to tell me how to do it. No, I don't make no corrections. And I love making it. And once it's made, it's there. And I can do it really fast. Because artwork takes a long time. It takes, you know, many, many hours to do this type of stuff.
So who in your life reminds you to keep going with your artwork in general? Do you have like a almost like a group of people that remind you of your worth and that, you know, to keep going with your artwork? Because we all get in these funks. You mentioned it earlier with my dark times. We all go through those. Yeah. So we all need people to remind us that we do have value and we are valued, and this is the reason why we're valued. I'm just wondering if you have a group of those people that, let's say you do get down once in a while, but somebody will come in and remind you of just why you love to do this and want to continue doing this.
Well, I have a crew of amazing humans for sure at times, but one, I don't think I can't stop. You know, it's my therapy in the good and bad times. I just like making stuff. You know, I think of just the spirit of creativity of just whatever it is you're making, and just put yourself into it and see where it goes. And I always feel like you can transform your life in the things that you're making, right? So my partner and I, we made like this little fun little BDSM company called Pure Debauchery. And so then and it's just for fun. It's just for kicks and giggles. Like we go to these fun BDSM shows. I show my artwork there, and I have my leather work there. And it's just a fun group of people. And so, but I make so much stuff. I need certain pockets, you know, to put things under, right? So like I say, we do fishing for Neptune, like, you know, that project isn't as active, but it's never dead, right? So you put your energies in that, and then I also have the keep it brutal stuff that I need to put all my death metal, because not everybody in death metal wants to see maybe some cartoon things that I'm doing for the kids, or I just different styles. I like different styles, just like music and food and conversations. I like different things. It's hard for me to stick with one thing. Like just these two covers alone, right? Like I feel like they're the same, but they're different a little bit. I feel. Right, even the colors, the technique I was using.
Well, right. But I always love the fact that now I feel like you are not just known as the death metal guy. Because you used to be. But now you have all these ventures.
Yeah.
And even you coming on other people's interviews and getting to know who Tony really is, that's why I love this art form. That's why I love the humanistic quality to radio and podcasting, is because you get to know them as human beings and not just like the guy that makes all these brutal covers or the guy that just makes all this brutal music or any of that, or the guy that just shoots photography. Like there's something more about us as human beings that I just love to explore more of and get to know just who we are as spirits and our souls, because our souls are much more than just like this is like an offshoot of who we are. It's not who we are. It's just an offshoot of
Well, and also I think for me let me give you fresh greens, brother. Let me give you fresh greens. This is all ashy.
Yeah.
But for me is that to always be able to continually add to the genre, it makes me really happy. Just because I already put so much of my life into the genre, and it's so hidden. I feel like a lot of my artwork is deeply hidden and just out of reach for a lot of people because they're not into like who's really into death metal and the brutal death metal and tech death, and there's a small group of us, compared to the world, compared to billions of people. Like, I don't know. But there's a lot of underground bands that I've worked with that no one's going to really ever see the light of day, which is sad because some of the bands, you're just like, what is going on here? Like, this is so crazy. Like, you guys, wow. Like, some of these bands I've worked with, man, has just been like, wow, you guys. And it's been fun. And like I say, the kid in me always giggles, always laughs, always super stoked on it. And the adult in me is like, oh, let me get this thing together, put the book together, let me put let me just do all the things I've been dreaming about, my entire career. Let's get the tour together, work on some bands, and and do that. But that may be in the future for sure.
Do you like to have a team that you surround yourself with where you like to work with them every time? Because that is super crucial. Again, going back to what I do with Madras and whatnot, is having that same group of people surrounding you every single time and knowing that you can do this again and again and again with the same people, and it never really gets tiring. There's always something fresh and new with each of the projects that we create with the same group of people. We were talking off air of doing, a couple artworks and whatnot, and it still feels fresh. Like, it doesn't feel dated to work with the same group of people that we're just used to working with over the years. So I always find that fascinating as well.
Well, I had my Art Temple crew, so I have those cats, and some of us went to Burning Man together, and it made it just effortless. So it's like right now I have a beautiful crew, a hardworking, talented crew of amazing human beings. If I called them in on the project, I think they would be there if we can. Where they could be. It's not everybody can't just invest their life and stop what they're doing and then but if you plan it out far enough, and you make things really tangible, and you tell everybody, say, hey, I just need this. Abe, I need your strengths for it. Everything that you're not strong at, you're not going to be worried about. It's about
you handle this aspect that I can't handle. I'll handle this aspect that you can't handle. And that's what makes, again, going back to like
having the team, baby.
Why I feel you're crucial. I mean, you're important to me just as a human being, but your talents, that's a huge like bonus that I don't even have to fucking worry about.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about, is the artwork going to be done at a certain point?
Oh, no,
Because there are a lot of flakes out there.
No, I
when
want
it comes to
it
that
done
stuff.
as fast as possible, but sometimes just life gets in the way.
But at least there's form of communication.
Oh, totally.
You know, again, going back to what we're doing now, the art of conversation. So, Tony, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and hanging, and hopefully we can do this again and again and again and again. I
always
just know I love you very much. I don't just
don't
say that. You know,
I know, yeah, dude. We've been friends for 10 years, man. Like, hey, you always show up. Yeah, and once again, we can have a whole nother podcast on how much I love you. But I thank you for all the support you've given me, definitely for over the years, man. It's deeply felt. We all know. And like I say, as much as you inspire me, and I get to inspire you, and I think it's what good friendships should be really based off of the respect and love off each other's talents and get to work together, which is really cool. That's like another thing I think is really powerful as well. Like we can work really well together. And we worked really well together for many years. And I can't say that about everybody. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for that too. And like I said, thank you for doing the podcast and doing all the hard work that you've been doing and interviewing all these amazing people. Like I say, we've lost some important human beings, and grateful that you definitely had conversations with them and highlighted. You know, that's why when I do festivals and I have the poster and I have everybody sign the posters. And I have everybody sign the posters. If you're a band promoter, you work there, you're a fan, whomever, and just to remind everybody, it's a community. Like it's all of us. It's not just a certain few. It's the whole group of individuals. And I think too is that there's not enough people that are just valued in general, so they don't even think about it, and so they don't really share it themselves because no one's valuing them. You know, and once again, there's moments and times where I'm like, hey, I have to change up the flyer and say, can you put my name on it at least? I'm like, I don't know who these bands are. It's cool. Nothing but respect to these bands, but I've been doing this for a minute. I think my name should at least be on the flyer, because if you don't put my name on the flyer, I don't even care about it. If you don't care enough for that, I don't even care enough showing up. Like, gas is expensive, man. Like, I can just make more money just sitting at home, you know, working on a painting, you know, and I can sell the original and the copy and, you know, the rights. Like, there's a whole slew of things I could do as opposed to being disrespected publicly. And I'm invited to your event, but you don't ever put my name. Like, what are you, ashamed? Like, I've been a part of this thing how many times, and you still don't want to put like Tony Koehl. I've done some things, man. I have a good record, brother. Like, you know, I've been consistent, and you know, I've always been pumping something out. You know, if it's covers, drawings, paintings, live art, posters, you know, T-shirt designs.
Yeah, you've done it all pretty much.
Yeah,
man.
layouts, you know, logos. You know, I'm working with legging. I'm doing some leggings, doing some apparel designs,
Leather work, and
yeah.
I mean, and of course, lastly, before I let you go, I want to mention this too. SketchTheSoul.com, I think, is the best place if you're interested in working with a great human being. I can't highly recommend him enough. You know, and cheers to 10 more years. And
dude,
you know,
dude. I mean, how trippy it is to even say a decade, man. We're in Texas. We're in Houston, Texas, a decade ago. Crazy. Cheers, Big Daddy. Thank you again. Yeah, you can go to Sketch the Soul and Tony Koehl, TonyKoehl. And you just Google that, baby, and I'm on everything. You can find me on everything. So, yeah, thanks again, T, and thank you, whoever watched this and cares. Super appreciate you.
And you are valued out there.
100%.
There is hope, and we all have it. So
yeah, and also if there's ever hard times, you know, art is extremely important. It's been my therapy and my safe space. It's been my everything. And that's why I love doing it. I love escaping the world and just, you know, moving all your emotions in a safe, positive. No one's gonna. If you get really angry at somebody and you want to beat them up, I wouldn't want to beat them up physically, but I can draw them like super mutilated and whatnot, and they don't even know that's even them, but like just the soul of me just working out that dark anger into something that's not going to hurt myself or anybody else. I highly recommend that type of practice. Music is great, you know. grunt and growl in a microphone. There's nothing wrong with that, but write poetry, there's
Make documentaries.
Make documentaries. Yeah, just work out, that
podcasting, radio.
And just keep active, and then work through it. But, make sure, just work through it and have some people to talk to that you love and trust. And if you don't have, you reach out regardless, or, if you don't really think you have anybody, reach into yourself, love yourself more than love anybody else on the planet. That was a big move for me to help me get to the next level, is definitely more self-love, more self-care. That was a big help. So if I can help anybody out there, just love yourself more. You have a lot more reasons to love yourself than not. You just have to make the list and believe it.
And on that note, Mr. Tony Koehl, sketchofsoul.com. Tony, thanks so much, buddy.
Brother, thank you, T.
We're out of here, guys. Cheers.